Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Informational Monday. Just giving a minute for those that want to join us. Today, we're going to talk or continue to talk about communication, which is the topic of the month of December. And communication skills really divide into a lot of different categories. One of the communication skill I want to touch on today is very interesting in today's world. So the communication skill I want to focus our attention for today is the digital world, which we call digital communication etiquette. And in the digital world that we're in today, I want to include all the things that we probably don't even notice as we go through our daily routines and daily communication. So let me start with my usual PowerPoint. We spend so many hours each day online, but how often do we actually stop and think about our digital etiquette? We don't have an actual body language when we are communicating online that help us or can help us to interpret our intent. Many times the message that we send is misunderstood, or sometimes we actually forget that there's an actual human being on the other side of the screen that deserves respect and consideration. And that's what I want to focus today on this topic. So in the modern world that we are in today, especially post-COVID, a lot of us work online, remote messages, text messages, email communication. And the effective digital communication allows us to express our thoughts, our ideas, and our intentions clearly, but we want to try and maintain our professionalism as we do that in the virtual world. So the digital communication actually lacks something very important. That's besides the fact that we can communicate and address something as we go through the email or the text message, we are missing the nonverbal cues that I've spoke about in the first week, which was last week's lesson. When we communicate, there are a lot of nonverbal things that we do, hand motion, facial expression, all of that is missing because of online communication. So when you do that, it's actually very easy to misinterpret and misunderstand what you're trying to convey because of those little things that people pay attention to when you are communicating face to face. So in today's lesson, I actually want to point those things that are important and make sure that we can maintain professionalism and avoid or eliminate misunderstanding, conflicts, or any other situation that arises from digital communication. So there's a word for it, and digital etiquette is called netiquette. So netiquette is really the rules that are set up by the social interaction. And the digital etiquette can be defined as the actual practices of having respect when communicating with others through online medium. There is a lot that is involved and is important to consider when writing and communicating via a medium where it is basically not face-to-face. I want to go over the major challenges that we have in the digital communication. One of the, I'll focus on 4 challenges. The misinterpretation, as I mentioned before, because we don't have the nonverbal cues and we don't see the actual intent of the person, and we sometimes interpret things as we see them or as we understand them from the message. Information overload. There is so much information available out there that you can always challenge or find other challenging material that is just available out there. Cybersecurity threats. There is an exposure of the individual and the organization that you're working for risk of hacks. And we all dealt with hacks. We all know exactly what it means because of this availability of so much information. And then digital divide. Not everyone has same access to the digital communication. So not everybody actually understands all the tricks of each portal on the digital communication. Of course, it also has great opportunities. The first great opportunity is that it can reach globally. You can stream something in one place and it can reach anywhere around the world. You can send an email, you can send a text message to almost everyone around the world. It can enhance productivity because most of us that work from home, or those of us that work from home, they can feel that they don't waste time on traveling. They become more productive because of remote work. And of course, it goes both ways. But for the for the majority of the part, you are more productive because you are in your comfort zone. You don't have to waste time. You don't have to, do all those activities, take the train, travel. And it definitely does increase productivity. Access to information. There's so much information, so it's a positive and a negative. Because there's so much information, you have a lot to learn from. You can just access any portal and learn on your own any new skill you would like at your own convenience, at your own place. And then the fourth one is amplified voice. It gives the opportunity to share your idea. You can actually share your idea across the globe, which connects into number one as well. It gives so many different opportunities to many individuals that would not have that opportunity if the digital communication was not available. Another thing that we have to consider is the tone and the language. I did mention tone and language in the first week when we talked about communication. It's very important that the tone addresses what you're trying to convey in the message. So tone can convey our emotions, our intentions, our attitudes, just by the way you speak. It's important to choose the correct tone that is respectful, professional, and of course considerate, especially when you are using that tone in a digital world to prevent exactly that, to prevent miscommunication, to prevent any conflict or misunderstanding. The second thing to consider with tone and language is clarity and conciseness. You want to be very clear. You want to avoid any ambiguity and be clear on your communication. That can prevent confusion and misunderstanding. So if you are writing an email with instructions to whatever has to be done, those instructions have to be very clear so there is no misunderstanding. And empathy, we spoke about empathy again in the last session. Feel free to go on YouTube and find it and re-listen to it if you don't remember or want to understand more. Empathy is basically putting yourself in the shoes of others, and that we are missing through the virtual communication, because it's important to be mindful of the emotions and the perspectives of others, especially when you use the virtual communication. Using language that shows empathy and understanding can really help build a positive relationship and foster a positive attitude when your communication is addressed or read. Cultural sensitivity, being mindful of cultural differences in language. And that can be through communication styles, because it's so crucial to avoid unintentional offenses or misunderstandings. Professionalism, use appropriate language and avoid slang, especially if it's a professional environment that you're sending to. You got to use the correct expressions. Try to use formal rather than informal expression that helps establish creditable information and also respect, because of the professionalism of the approach, or the professional approach to the topic. Active listening, very important for both virtual and in person, specifically in virtual interactions, because acknowledging and paraphrasing the point of view of someone shows that you actually engage and understand their perspective. That is especially important for written communication, to make sure that whatever message was sent is clearly understood and is taken into consideration. So let's discuss the Etiquette Essentials. There's this book, which is called Etiquette Essentials, is a book that explores all of these principles. And I have used some of them in these slides. The book emphasizes the significance of tone, which is what I just covered, language, and also respectful communication, which is really the most important communication skill of virtual interaction. So I really encourage you to look through this, but I'm going to go through some of the rules. Some of them are from that book, some are from other books, but it basically covers, the book actually covers email communication, social media communication, online collaboration, and actually maintaining positive online presence. I want to go over the 12 rules of digital communication etiquette. So first, be polite and respectful. And when you do that, just refrain from insulting, provoking, threatening, anything that can even be interpreted as that. Respect opinions and express constructive criticism. You can agree to disagree. You don't have to agree with everything that, nobody has to agree with anything that other person says, but being respectful and paying attention that you understand that some criticism might be constructive and is important to listen to. Pay attention to the tone of your message and avoid sarcasm, especially via communication that's digital. Number 2, think before you post. It's a very nice saying, once on the internet, always on the internet. Once on the internet, always on the internet. But there's also another saying, the internet never forgets. The internet doesn't forget anything. Once it's up, it's always going to be up. So when you are actually posting, think about what it is that you're posting and what's the person that you're addressing might think about that post. Consider what and how you write about this post. That includes a post on Facebook, a text message, a WhatsApp message in a group, whenever you address the situation, anything that involves someone else as well. Make sure that you are rethinking about what you're posting and how it might look on the other hand. Number 3, maintain self-control and presence, and present your best side online. Show the best of you. Be respectful and friendly. Avoid one of the biggest thing that I hope we all know is that when you text, the way you text has a meaning. So avoid all caps, because when you write in all capital letters, it actually means that you are shouting at someone or you're emphasizing someone. So avoid doing that. I know sometimes I'm also guilty of that. I leave the caps lock on, and I forget that, I can manipulate between text message and email. Make sure you check that before you hit the send button. Make sure you check. It's so important that your message, as you want it to be conveyed, is sent through. Read first, then ask. This is particularly important for a thread email that goes through many, many different people, or a post, a comment on a post, a WhatsApp group communication. Double check before sending. Sometimes there's so much information that I've been through. Maybe your question that you're asking is already being addressed. So take a moment, go over all of the given information and all of the information that is already there before you ask a question. Number 5, netiquette. Part of netiquette is spelling, punctuation, grammar, and use of appropriate language tone. Check your grammar. There's so many grammar checkers that we can use. Spelling, punctuation, really important, what you use and why you use that. That also conveys the language and the tone of your message. I remember when I was an undergraduate and I had to write an email, my advisor gave me a very, very important advice. She said that when you email such and such person, make sure that you pay attention to capital letters and make sure that you have correct punctuations. That is so crucial in formal communication because it shows attentiveness. It shows even knowledge of acknowledgement of who you're sending it to and how important that tone and language is set. Respect the privacy of others, very similar to what I mentioned before in terms of posting. When you post, make sure that you know who you're posting and if it's okay with them to post their photo, their video, information about them. But there's another in email. If you are sending an email to multiple individuals at once, some people are more sensitive about their information. So use BCC instead of CC. CC in an email, whenever you send an email, there's an extra copy that you can copy another individual to see the email. CC is just copying that individual. BCC is blind carbon copy. That person sees the email, but they don't see the email address and who the email was sent to. That sometimes is really important for privacy and security of other individuals. Overlook mistakes. Forgive your counterpart mistakes. Some people just don't know and may write something that they did not mean. So don't try to emphasize on something that might be a mistake. Also choose correct emojis. Emojis have a lot of meaning, and sometimes we are overusing them, not really understanding what their use is. So the person that accepting that emoji may interpret it differently. So when you receive something, don't always immediately assume that this is what was meant. Avoid flame wars. When there's a post or there's a thread or there's a message that contains aggressive personal criticism or attack on a person, which is what flame war is, try to avoid that. And if possible, exit the message or don't reply or whatever, because it really does create a big flame war. So what I always say is treat others as you want to be treated. And profanity isn't part of etiquette. You want to make sure that you have a positive communication that always leads to a better relationship. Report hate speech, and we've seen a lot of those that are in social media. Reporting those are important. Ignoring hate speech causes consequences, and that has to be addressed. Be clear and concise. And when you're clear, keep your message brief, but also comprehensive. Make sure that your message is focused and easy to understand. And respond in a timely manner. One thing I never understand is when people get a text message and it takes them 4 days to respond, or sometimes don't even respond at all. That's not a good skill. That's not an etiquette approach. You want to make sure that you respond. And of course, we know that sometimes if it's an email, you don't have to respond right away, but make sure you respond. Responsiveness is really critical. Critical as an aspect of online communication. Whether it's a text message that you got, just acknowledge that you got it. Sometimes we have nothing to say, but just a thumbs up or an acknowledgement or working on it or some message like that makes the person feel acknowledged and accepted. So you understand that the person read it and not just simply ignores you. So definitely respond in a timely manner. So, of course, as always, I am open to your questions. If you have any questions specific to that topic, I am continuing to recommend this book to you, Etiquette Essentials, New Rules for Minding Your Manners in a Digital World by Emily Post Institute. This is a book that really gives all of what I've spoke about in much, much more detail and explains how you would treat or respond to an email, and how you would get an approach on different scenarios in the digital world. Until our educational journey crosses again, always remember that learning is a gateway to a bright future. And I hope this helps you understand what the digital world communication look like and how we can all improve to make sure that the communication is respectful to all people involved. Next week, I will continue the communication topic with something else that I'm going to do, but we will start the live at 1:30 instead of 1 p.m. So make a note of that, and I will also create the event so you can see that. Thank you so much for being here today, and I hope that helps you understand the importance of the topic. Enjoy the week.